I'm here with Zanie Tanswell on her yard in Gloucestershire, and she's going to show us about travelling horses and preparing them for travel. Competition horses tend to use a lot of kit when they travel, and Zanie's going to talk us through why they use it and what each individual bit of kit does. So.
Thank you. When you're travelling horses, most important thing is that they're never too hot. That's always foremost in my mind, is that you're never over-rugging them. Clearly you're rugging them for conditions, but you're never over-rugging them. I start normally out when I'm getting horse ready for travelling with its rugs, obviously, to keep it warm once you've groomed it. I start with a base rug, which is just a fleece cooler. It's good because basically if you have to get into the back of the lorry to remove rugs, it's a good base rug, and it wicks sweat really effectively. So I start by putting his first rug on.
So this is quite a lightweight
fleece, which is also
and
good.
It's fairly breathable as well.
Very breathable and fairly good for the summer months as well. This horse is clipped at this time of the year. Today, like a day like today, is quite mild, so I'd then put an extra rug on top of him. So I'd use a thicker cooler on top of this.
So again, that's slightly thicker, but very breathable as well.
Very breathable, but very easy to take off if you need to climb in the lorry in a partition, because it's only got a single strap here.
So that makes a difference. If
very easy to remove
leg straps or something, it's going to be a nightmare.
Don't use leg straps or anything if you're thinking that you're going to have to change rugs in transit, because you won't be able to without endangering yourself. Once he's rugged up and ready to go, the only other thing that I would use if it was really cold was a Whitney blanket, a good old-fashioned Whitney blanket, which would sit in the middle. Again, it's easily moved. Next, then, I would start with do the tail bandage. My horses wear a tail bandage and a tail guard. Basically, I spend hours pulling tails, so I want it to be immaculate when it gets there, but also to stop any muck or anything getting in it when they're travelling. Always make sure that you make the horse aware that you're behind it. This horse is very well behaved, but some horses clearly aren't. Lift the tail up onto your shoulder, because then that enables you to get the tail bandage underneath. And you start at the top, pulling it relatively tight, but not too tight, otherwise you're going to cut off the circulation.
So this is really just to keep the tail clean and protect it from rubbing?
Protect it from rubbing predominantly, and keep it clean, yes. So nice level spaces between your bandages so that it's all equal tension all the way down. Horses have been known to lose tails if you pull them too tightly.
In this yard?
Not in my yard, no. I've heard horror stories. Then I use a tail guard over the top for extra protection, especially good on horses if they sit. Quite a lot of horses, when they travel, sit on their bottoms.
So particularly for longer journeys?
Longer journeys, especially, yeah. These tail guards are also useful, I found, if you're flying with horses on long-haul journeys. You use them instead of tail bandages, because again they're quickly removed if a horse gets frightened in the air or anything like that. Right. So that's his tail ready for travelling.
Brilliant. So
the last thing I put on is a travel boots, starting with the front travel boots. Travel boots have come a long way. There's very few people actually bandage these days, because they offer ultimate protection, and they're, again, easy and quick to put on, easy and quick to get off.
So this is just for when a horse is in a confined space, just to stop them bashing?
Absolutely. It protects all the areas in travelling. So it protects from the back of the knee down to the back of the heels.
Yeah.
And then I finish off with the hind boots. Some horses I find quite funny with fitting hind boots. So you have to be careful that you don't get kicked, especially young horses. Definitely do the tail bandage first, because otherwise, yeah, you'll end up getting your knee taken off.
So those back ones just protect the hock as well.
Protect the hock, the cannon and the fetlock joints.
And again, if you've got a horse kicking, they're tough enough, aren't they? They're
tough enough and durable enough, and they generally don't slip. So if you've got a horse that kicks in I think if you've got a really bad traveller that kicks behind, I would go for the old-fashioned bandages and high gamgee that covers the same areas.
As well as boots or instead?
No, instead of boots.
Instead of boots.
I do have got a couple of young horses that don't like hind boots, so I would suggest you use travel bandages and gamgee.
Yeah, brilliant. So
he's now ready to get on the lorry, yeah.
Great. Okay, so show us what kind of things you check for before you load the horse.
Okay, so basically you've now got your horse ready. You need to check that your lorry is basically ready for the horse to load. I've just got one horse travelling today, and my preference is to travel it in the middle of the lorry, basically because it balances it out and he travels well. I've checked that my headboard and my partitions are secured. Headboards are basically to stop them fussing with each other and biting each other in transit, and a very good idea. All my horses sort of have the same sort of space, unless I've got a tricky traveller and I will give it more space.
So they're all a similar size of horse? They're all
a similar size of horse, and you have to move the partitions in accordance with the size, but mine are generally the same. I've got one big mare that has a lot of room because she travels badly and she feels secure with a lot of space. So now I've got to sort my windows out. Ventilation is a big thing with travelling. I'd rather have lots of ventilation when they're travelling for them. So you see that I've opened up the air vents at the top to allow a good circulation of air.
So you've got air vents at the top, windows on both sides.
I've got windows on both sides. I generally wouldn't open the back windows unless we were in scorching heat, because it's such a big environment in here. It offers plenty of ventilation with these. But I would open front windows.
And that's obviously relevant to how many horses you have on board.
Relevant to how many horses I've got on board. I would open every single window if I'm full up. But today I've just got him, so I've opened up 3 windows and the air vents, so that should be plenty of air for him.
Okay, and then you've got.
Then I've got a hay net for travelling. Basically, this needs to be really secure. The last thing you want is this falling down in transit. And I just fix this to a piece of string.
So hay net's attached to a string, so if something does happen and gets caught up in the string breaks.
The string breaks.
Yeah.
And then you'll see that the tie chain, which is a bungee tie chain, they're basically because my horses chew ropes and they cost me a fortune, so I use the bungee chains because they don't seem to chew them. And he's then secured to the string at the same time, and it gives him enough room to eat the hay net.
Great. The horse is ready, the lorry is ready.
Yeah.
What kind of things, is there anything else we need to think about before we put him on?
This horse is quite an experienced loader, so I normally would load him on my own quite happily. But if you've got a young or inexperienced horse, I'd suggest you have a helper to help him and load him. But this one's fairly straightforward. If he's strong or a stallion or a little bit out of control, I'd suggest you load in a chiffney. But I think we're safe in a leather head collar.
Okay, let's go and do it.
Well then, Thomas. You just have to make sure that he's always sort of forward thinking when he's coming to the ramp. Because he's got to get up the ramp without falling over.
Yeah.
Make sure that he's aware of where he's going. I just make them have a look up into the top of the ramp.
And obviously all the partitions need to be fully open.
All the partitions need to be fully opened and in safe working order, so he's not going to bang him. Come on, Thomas. Stand at his shoulder and allow him to walk up. And then gently pull his head to you and push his bottom in. And now he's ready to secure to the tie ring.
Brilliant. So you need to pull their head round before you push the horses over.
Pull their head round and get them
so
straight. Yeah, don't tie them up until they're in the position that you want them to, in case they panic and run backwards down the ramp. So I'm securing him to my bungee.
Lead rope off.
Lead rope off. And then close the partitions. I just shut him in a little bit tighter. And then the arm up. Good boy. And now he's ready to travel.
He's ready to go. On a shorter journey to a fairly local event, would you check him?
Not generally, unless he panics or he gets stressed, and I can see that from the camera that we have above us that's in the cab, so I can see how well he's travelling and see if he's in any stress. Short journeys to me are anything between 1 and 4 hours. We do that a lot on the road to English events. Long-haul journeys into Europe, you therefore then have to start thinking about feeding and watering and temperature of the lorry en route. So you have to be well prepared for that.
And so someone can come in while you're driving if they can get through from the living into the main bit.
Generally, Chris does all the driving, and then I come in on regular intervals, normally every hour, to offer them water especially. If they're difficult to give water in transit, event horses or any horses know they're going to competition, you can get get a 50 ml syringe from your vet, and you can administer water in that way orally.
Brilliant.
It's very important.
And on longer journeys, do you sometimes stop and get the horses off?
No, never stop and get them off. More for reasons of safety. If you lose,
So it's better not on the roadside.
better not to get them
the horse
off. We very much think just get them there as quickly as possible, as comfortably as possible. Feed them little and often. Feed them electrolytes in their feed. Small feeds very often. And keep an eye on the temperature. Are they hot, sweating? Take rugs off, put rugs on. Just really adhere to their every need in transit.
So they arrive at the competition in the best possible shape.
Absolutely.
Great.